There are defining moments in every country's history, moments that shake a country to the core and cause it to change the current path it's on. This moment for the USSR was Chernobyl, where 500,000 workers were involved, followed by a massive cover-up. Are you ready? Decay is headed your way.
So Chernobyl, I actually do remember this because I was 9 years old when it happened, and one of the things I do remember was the news reports once it finally hit the fan, so to speak, that there was radiation seeping into the ground. And of course, I'm 9 years old. I don't know anything about science, so in my mind, I never really said this out loud, even to my parents sitting at the dinner table. But in my mind, I see this big, huge glob of radiation seeping into the ground, and it was slowly creeping down into the ground, and it was forcing itself. And I was like, gee, if it gets to the core of the Earth, the whole planet's going to explode. Now, like I said, I'm 9.
Okay, what do I know about Chernobyl? I believe it was in the late 80s. I hope
yeah, 1986.
Mid-80s.
I don't have no AC.
The worst nuclear meltdown, reactor meltdown in the history of our planet, as far as I'm aware. It was next to a major Russian, then Soviet Union city called Pripyat, which has since been deserted.
During the Chernobyl disaster.
I was in Lynchburg, Virginia, listening to National Public Radio early mid-afternoon, and a news report came out, and I remember pulling over, parking in the restaurant parking lot, thinking it just couldn't happen.
My friend here is going to Chernobyl this summer, and I don't know a whole lot about Chernobyl, but I do know that it was a nuclear meltdown that happened in 1986. I know that a lot of people died, a lot of people got really sick. I know that they had to evacuate several cities in the area. And I do think that now they are leading some tours. I think they have someone with one of those Geiger counters, I believe, that measures. Is that what it measures?
Yeah,
radiation?
It does. Measures the radiation.
And they go around with you. And then I know there's a big horror movie coming out this summer.
Chernobyl Diaries, you're
Yeah.
right.
It's headed your way. Just a little bit about Chernobyl. I was in elementary school when the Chernobyl disaster happened. For some reason, I was very, very scared as a kid of all things nuclear. Nuclear warfare, the nuclear energy scared me as well. The thought that a nuclear reactor could melt down and expose us all to radiation and a slow kind of yucky death, kind of a bad way to go. Anything nuclear really scared me. Seeing stuff about World War II and the atomic bombs, I found it really scary. So I remember when the news reports came out, stuff about Chernobyl and just some of the awful things that, happened to the kids, some of the awful radiation poisoning that happened to the people. And it just made me even more scared of everything nuclear. I had nightmares. I remember a story National Geographic did about the wildlife, how the wildlife was affected. Birds that, the eggs, that the shells on the eggs weren't thick enough to support, the growth of the bird. And just sheep, born with birth defects, kids born with horrible birth defects. And it really scared me. It took a long time for me to be able to trust nuclear energy or anything nuclear after that happened, and I think it's really still scary today. When things like the Japan tsunami happens and you hear about possible meltdowns, I think it's the first thing that pops into anybody's head. It's an interesting lesson on the dangers of nuclear energy.
Decay is headed your way. Dealing with Chernobyl, I remember a long time ago when it happened, people being evacuated out immediately, very dangerous situation. Nobody really knew how serious it was at the very beginning, but very soon we realized that people had to be moved out permanently, that this was not going to go away anytime soon, not even for 1 or 2 generations. These people are never going to go back there. And it's a very interesting place now because you see on television reports of people, namely homeless people living there. Again, they're going to contract probably various ailments or illnesses, and it will definitely shorten their lifespan.
This is Frutere. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Chernobyl, what all I know about it. I know Chernobyl is a little town in Russia where a nuclear disaster occurred. At the end of the disaster, or during the disaster, they tried all they could to contain it, but it was too much. They couldn't contain it. It seeped through the community, and it wound up decaying the whole community, destroyed the whole society, and up until now, the society is shielded. Nobody can go through there without going through so much trouble. And in other words, their freedom is taken away from them, and therefore decay is headed your way.
Okay. And now, is there anything that you can say about the Chernobyl disaster in the USSR?
Well, my assumption from what I read and what I have followed about it is that it was due to government neglect. That's one of the problems with a government-controlled economy. I think often you have situations where things should be taken care of and they're not. I love what you're doing exploring these old buildings, and I think for a couple of reasons it's nice for us to treasure our past, but it's also important for us to realize that everything decays. Decay is headed your way.